Lord had me to wait to this time at the conclusion of our fast to preach this when you was the closest to God that you've been. Because it's only at that time that you can receive better when you hear more keenly. A lot of people are afraid to preach certain things in the Bible, and we wonder why our people are perishing. God didn't put the new covenant in to do away with the old. He put the new covenant in to continue to expound upon the old. So a lot of people don't even preach Old Covenant no more, or Old Testament, when God simply said, DeAndre, that I didn't come to do away with the old. Through Jesus, he said, I came to fulfill. But Donna, we got people who don't want to preach the old, but it's in this old that's the foundation for the new. The foundation comes with this, the secret to overwhelming blessings, in parentheses, the power of first fruit offering. Because a lot of times, anytime people hear offering, they go mute. They don't want to hear anything else in the service. Had I known he would be preaching this, perhaps I would have stayed home. And I wonder why our people always stay home in the most inopportune times, yet they want blessings. We want everything but don't want to give, which is totally opposite of what God is saying. God is truly saying that you have to give him first. And then all these things, Matthew 6:33, shall be added unto you. But we don't want to do that. We want to receive first as if we are his father. When he say, no, I am the authoritarian, this what I say goes. And he comes back and he tells us ways that we can prosper. He tells us ways we can be in good health even as our soul prosper. And what really irritates my spirit is that we have so many people know scripture but don't know God. They can read scripture and quote scripture to you all day long, just like a rapper do lyrics. But just like a lot of rappers, they don't live it. You'll be surprised at how many rappers write these crazy lyrics and they're punks. They're punkettes in the street. They don't have street credit. Very few rappers write the lyrics that they're living. Now, you got some that's gangster, some that's about it, but a lot of them just have a skill set. And that's the same thing that takes place in church, Brother James. We have a lot of people who know scripture but don't know God. Know scripture but will not exercise the scripture, will not advance the scripture or push the scripture in no way, form, or fashion, but they know him. That's why Jesus tells us when people say, but Jesus, you remember me, I did such and such, and I did this. And I quoted scriptures to all these people standing on the corners. And Jesus said, get away from me, you worker of iniquity. I never knew you. So the question this morning is, do you know God? And the follow-up question would be, if I know God, do I in totality trust God? Yeah, do I trust God? Because we got a lot of people down there that pack the churches out looking for a feel-good. When the church preacher constantly telling you who we up against, the adversary, and we think the adversary all the time is Lucifer, when the true adversary is yourself. We give Lucifer too much credit because Lucifer don't even deal with a lot of us. Because we're already dealing with ourselves. I'm trying to stay calm because I want to teach this thing this morning, and I don't want to get all, but I feel something because we're fighting the wrong enemy. Lucifer ain't even got in line to be your enemy because you're your worst enemy. Putting God out there on the block and trying to crucify God. If you don't, God, then I ain't doing it. God say, well, so be it. So be it. And we wonder why we are underachieving in blessings And we really can never say that I have a testimony of what it looks like to overachieve in finance. When was the last time you was overwhelmed because you had this much money? For some people to say I'm overwhelmed because I'm over the top because now I got this money and all my bills are paid. For some people, that's overwhelming because they never had the chance to experience that. Sister Tricka, they haven't had the chance to say, hey, I paid these bills and I still got money left. It's either I don't pay all my bills and I got some money, or I pay all the bills and I don't have money. What happens when you are paid all your bills and you have some left over? Now I am overwhelmed because I ain't got to work hard. What happens when you get to the point you don't have to work 6 days a week? You ain't got to hustle like that. When you say, God has blessed me so much that I understand now what it means to have residual income. Let me say this to you before we really get going into this message. You know the best residual income in the world you could have is sowing seed into God, because God is determined and he don't lie. So God said, if you sow, you gon' reap. I ain't finna preach, Don. I ain't preaching today. I just want them to understand that they're dealing with a God that's non-negotiable. The problem is we think we get grace mixed up and confused with negotiating. You can't negotiate with a God that doesn't